Thank you all for coming. Really great to see everybody. So excited as we enter the next phase of our season, the Summit League Tournament. What an unbelievable season in so many ways, and I'm glad you'll hear from Drake and Kendall today. But I think they, along with all 16 of our players, have just been such a special group. Their selflessness, their toughness, how they compete every day, I think makes all of us proud. We talk a lot about comprehensive excellence, and Phil Eston, our VP of Athletics, has from day one, as we move to Division I, been adamant that that is going to stay the same. That what we strive for in terms of the community and on the court and in the classroom and the personal character, those are going to be the hallmarks of our athletic department, and we certainly try to represent well on the men's basketball side. And I think throughout the course of this year, we played a really, really tough schedule, 22 wins. The other night, 14-0 to wrap up Schoenecker Arena, and really just an emotional, nostalgic night here. And I could go through a litany of other stats, and we'll probably dive into some of those. But I think more than anything, qualitatively, it's the way these guys compete every day that's really inspiring. That in year 4 of our journey in Division I, we've certainly learned a lot. I think these guys have grown and developed and really come together. It's been so gratifying as a coach, though, to watch them, in Drake's journey playing at Eden Prairie High School and what he's done during his time here. Over the last 2 years, I think he has 195 assists and about 60 turnovers, something like that. So you start thinking about the assist-to-turnover ratio, what he's done, and really what a stat like that reflects. Both Kendall and Drake are they're near 60% on 2-point shots, they're 43% on 3-point shots, and I don't think they're scoring or they're shooting or anywhere near the top of either of their attributes, which I think speaks volumes about just them and the way our team plays. So incredibly excited for this, sort of the culmination of our season in Sioux Falls. The Summit League does such a wonderful job, and I really think it's one of the best mid-major tournaments in the country. Also just very proud of kind of our university and where we're at and this journey that we're going on. And these guys have competed fearlessly, not just this year, but you look at year 1 with 10 wins and year 2 with 19, year 3 with 20, and now 22 at the end of this regular season. And I think that is the culmination of so many people's work, many of whom are in this room, and I won't name everybody right now, but it really is, when you talk about team sports, the special part of it is when you see people striving together and struggling together sometimes and just sticking together and believing and trusting in one another. And I'm just so glad you'll hear from these guys because they really epitomize that every single day. Thank you.
For questions for the athletes?
Both of you guys. Preseason pick to finish 4th, so preseason there were some expectations, but to be the 2 seed this week, how satisfying is that?
Yeah, it's super satisfying. Obviously, we've put a ton of work going into this season, and it's awesome that we got the 2 seed, but we still got a lot of work to do, and Denver's a really good team. Honestly, in our conference, I think 1 through 9, everyone's super talented. Anyone can win at any given match, so we really got our work cut out for us, and we got to get ready for it.
Okay.
Oh yeah, kind of like Drake said, it's satisfying being the 2 seed. Put a lot of work in and kind of beat the odds of being the 4 seed this year. So we're pretty humble and hungry for our next opponent. And overall, great job in the season so far.
For any of you, maybe John, you can start with this. Why is Denver such a tough matchup?
Well, I think these guys alluded to it. The competitive parity in the Summit League is really impressive. And I think every conference will say that, but if you dive into the results and you start looking at especially late season where, in theory, there's going to be some regression to the mean, right, where some teams start really hot and other teams start cold, but everybody by the end of the year, barring injuries or something sort of cataclysmic, you're going to get better and figure out what are the areas that we're a little deficient in. And so I think you always see that around the country in every conference, but when I look at Denver, and they've had some injuries, but they've got 2 7-foot-plus guys they play inside. So that allows them to really plug it up, and they're really, really aggressive and physical defensively. So you combine those 2 things, and it gives them a real identity on defense. I think they've also got a number, probably 4, 5, 6 different perimeter players who can really score. They're athletic. And so when you watch them, we had a really close game with them, a 1-point win on the road. And you watch, they just beat South Dakota State the other day. The way they're playing, I think some of it is their young players have gotten more experience, some of it they've gotten healthy, and then I think they have a real identity. Part of the beauty of basketball is you look across the 9 teams, and even though the Summit League is generally thought of as a really offensive-minded league, it's not homogenous in terms of how people play offensively. And so I think Denver has a unique style on both offense and defense, and they've been playing really, really inspired basketball.
Kendall, when would you say you guys became a team in this league that, you know, is more of a hunted than hunter, and like you start to hear from fans on the road?
Yeah, I would say when we first started off undefeated in the league, the first 5 games. Obviously, took a tough road loss to Omaha, but then we kind of said as a team, like from there, like we're gonna be the hunted. You know, we're at the top of the league. We just came D1. Like nobody's expecting us to be this good, and so I think teams kind of took us for granted at the start of the conference, and then until we kind of woke up and started off undefeated until we lost at Omaha. So I think that's from that point on is when we became the hunted.
How would you compare that to, say, 2 seasons ago? Like, your third place in this league.
I would say 2 years ago we were definitely the hunters, just because we were the underdogs going into every game. A lot has changed from 2 years ago. We got new teammates, new culture, and new strategies and stuff like that. So I would say that's the main difference from those 2 years ago.
Is there some disappointment that you're not the 1 seed, that you didn't win a regular season championship, that after the Omaha victory here, you were in a pretty advantageous position and unfortunately had a couple hiccups there toward the end?
Yeah, that was definitely tough to deal with. We obviously really wanted the 1 seed, maybe the first time in program history that we got that seed. But obviously it was tough for us. But I think maybe we're using it as a little bit of a blessing in disguise. Makes us work a little bit harder, and now we just got a couple more things that we needed to work on, and we've learned a lot from those couple losses, and I think we're really prepared going into this week.
Yeah, kind of like Drake said, like it's like a blessing in disguise. We can use it as motivation as well, just to say we should be the 1 seed, but in reality we're not, and we can use that momentum and that advantage going into the tournament, especially coming off a win like we did on Saturday. So just building momentum and getting an advantage that way can help us a lot throughout the tournament.
Johnny, what do you like most about the way you guys are playing right now?
Well, I think these guys, honestly, a lot of it is just the collective spirit they have. I mean, I think when you look at our offensive numbers, they're really, really good. 2-point shooting, 3-point shooting, free throw shooting, turnovers, all of those are among the top 10 in the country. Offensive rebounding are not. That might be the other 10 in the country, the bottom 10. And that's not a lack of trying. Some of it is the way we play in our system, and our guys are really skilled, and they buy into making the extra pass, doing the tough stuff. And these guys are great examples of it. I mean, Kendall and Drake both have had games where I think Kendall had a career high the other night, and I usually walk out of games not having much of any idea of how many points guys scored. It's more how do they play, and so they really, I think they embrace that. Defensively, I think the other part of as human beings is being self-aware, and so we know we're not the biggest team. We don't jump the highest. We may not run the fastest, but these guys are really, really committed to. We're going to defend together. We're going to rebound collectively. Kendall leads us in rebounding. And I think that's, over the course of the year, we've had games where Drake did, where Miles did, that those guys have really bought in, I think, to the fact that, okay, here's our signature strengths as a team and as a program, and let's soar with our strengths. And then here are the areas that we know we have to be really diligent about, and we don't have a guy who's going to go get 15 rebounds. And part of the beauty of these guys is they are, I think, humble and hungry and self-aware that we know if everybody gets 3 or 4 rebounds, we're going to have a fighting chance on the glass. If we look at our centers to do that, or we look at our leading rebounder to do that, that's probably not going to be the way it works. And so this is truly a team. All 16 guys contribute. We play 9 or 10 just about every game. And you look at the balanced scoring, the 8 different guys have led us in scoring in a game. I think only 3 teams in the country have that. And none of that's by design. We don't script that. But I think it is the natural byproduct of these guys really embracing, in an era of college basketball where I think people highlight sort of individualism and lots of other things, these guys really embrace, hey, this is something special, to be on a team where guys care more about one another than their individual accolades and stats. And so I could go on and on, but that, I think when you talk about our culture, we talk about unselfish, skilled, smart, tough, and the unselfish part, these guys are, they just do it every single day. It's not like we talk about it a lot. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the toughness part, because I think anybody who watches us play, although we don't have a bunch of 7-footers running around, you watch the way our guys fly after rebounds and dive on the floor for loose balls. To me, that's the most energizing part. And when you're at a home game of ours, that's what the crowd, I think, loves about these guys, is their collective competitive spirit.
Drake, when you were deciding to transfer back here, or considering that whole process, how did you weigh the sort of knowing they'd be ineligible for the NCAA tournament? Like, how much did that factor into where you're going to play this year?
Honestly, it didn't weigh too much of a factor for me. My freshman year at Liberty, I had actually gotten to play in March Madness, so kind of got my taste for it. And then when I was on my visit here, just all the things they told me throughout my recruitment process, I really looked at everything and weighed out the facts, and I wasn't too upset that we couldn't make it to the tournament, because I felt like I was going to be a part of something bigger than myself here. So after all that, I really, stuck my foot in, and it's been an awesome journey since.
How emotional is it right now, Drake, knowing that this is it this week?
I've got that question a lot. Honestly, I'm not too emotional, just because I know it's my time, and I just really want to leave this, the program in a better spot than it was when I got here. And then obviously I want to do something that's never been done at St. Thomas, and so we want to win this championship really bad.
John, did you try to get Drake to come here high school?
Well, we were a Division III school, so the odds that we were going to convince Drake's parents that turning down a bunch of full rides. I saw him play a lot starting in 8th grade. I mean, nobody was on varsity at Eden Prairie in 8th grade, and so everybody knew about Drake Dobbs, and he committed early to Liberty. So his freshman year at Liberty was actually our last year in Division III. So no, we didn't recruit him, but I think he's a good example, as is Kendall. When we were recruiting Kendall initially, there were some people, even though we weren't Division I at that point, but we knew we were going. And there were some people who thought we were nuts to try to recruit Kendall because he was a highly decorated player. And I think they're both great examples that, we're one of 2 Division I schools in the state who have a men's basketball program. And, we're not going to have all local kids, but I think this is a really attractive destination. Not just because of the basketball program, but you put everything together, the academics, the location, the alumni network, the career opportunities, and the chance, as Drake said, to leave a legacy. What these guys are doing right now, there's not many times in your life where you get a chance to do something that hasn't been done before. And so I think this journey we're on at St. Thomas is just incredibly special. And these 2 guys, along with many others, are playing just an instrumental role in all of it.
Do we have any last questions for the athletes?
What's the atmosphere like in Sioux Falls, especially if you guys end up playing South Dakota State in the semifinals?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a home game for them. They just have so many fans there, but the atmosphere is incredible. They almost sell it out, I think. There's just so many fans; it gets really loud in there. But I'm just really excited to get back there and hoop with these guys and leave it all out there on the floor.
Yeah, like Drake said, it's like a home game for them. It's pretty electric. Always love being the underdog on the road team or on the road. So it's going to be competitive, electric, and we're looking forward to it.
Is he able to play this week?
Yeah, Ben, I think this time of the year everybody's got some bumps and bruises, but Benny, I thought, did a great job the other night, and he should be fine.
Is it a foot injury?
Yeah, as far as I know, his foot, yeah.
John, what do you think you guys learned from your last time in Sioux Falls, logistically and everything else, lessons that you could apply to this tournament?
Well, I think every conference tournament, you enter it and it's its own entity, because you look at your draw and who we play in the opening round, Denver, and I think it's so critical, and you do this throughout the entire regular season, but it's so critical not to look ahead even 4 hours, right? And the teams that are the best are the ones that can stay focused on the here and now. And so while it's your job, everybody here to speculate, oh, what would that matchup look like in the semis? I don't know if there's a conference in the country that has, the play-in game, but then the 4 rounds. You look at, Oral Roberts just beat us. North Dakota just beat South Dakota State and North Dakota State and took Omaha to the buzzer. Denver just beat South Dakota State and took us to the buzzer. I mean, you can go on and on with every team in our league, and I think everybody's playing at a really high level. And so some of it is what you learn in previous years, but some of it is, each season is its own entity. And then you get to the postseason, you got to step back a little bit and see where you're at, because what you were doing in December or January might not be the same as you're doing now. And so I think as much as anything, you want your guys to enjoy this opportunity because it is really exciting. We're grateful to play in the Summit League tournament. But then it's also kind of taking a step back and being aware this is who we are, and we don't have to be somebody different. You don't have to go out and do things you haven't done all year. Just do the things that we do really, really well. And a lot of playoff basketball is not beating yourself. So it's easy to talk about how are we going to do, what kind of plays are we going to make, but you look at turnovers, you look at defensive breakdowns, lapses in communication or focus. Those are the things as much as anything. Good teams aren't going to overhaul things for the playoffs. It's about kind of doubling down on who you are and recognizing there's going to be a lot of close games in a tournament. And I think doesn't guarantee anything, but I think we're well experienced in those based on what we've gone through in the conference.
Question from Marcus Fuller joining us on the Zoom. What's it been like building a program mostly the old-fashioned way during these transition years, relying so much on the high school recruiting?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Marcus. We're always open to what's the best fit for St. Thomas, but I do think part of development in today's age in college basketball is if you're going to have a strong culture, longevity is not everything, but part of a culture is you get the right people in a culture and then they perpetuate the values. And so I look at guys like Ben Now and Ryan Dufault, who have been here 4 years. Drake's been here 3.5 years. Carter and Kendall, those guys coming into this year, those were the only 5 guys who had ever played a minute for St. Thomas basketball. Several other guys had redshirted here, but I do think that is and will continue to be something that we focus on because in large part this school has so much to offer. I mean, I've been here 25 years, so I'm a little bit biased, but when I look at the things that our alums do after they graduate, and you look at a night like the other night at Schoenecker Arena where, Steve Fritz, who was the coach here for 31 years and was the athletic director here, and he's at the game, and how many of our former players were at the game, and you start seeing the connections. That was one of my favorite moments the other night, was after the game, all of our players milling around with their families, but also the number of alums who stuck around, some of whom had played here, some of whom had played at the old Schoenecker Arena, and some of whom had played at O'Shaughnessy Hall that closed in 1981. That's a moment you talk about what captures the spirit of a program in a university. That to me was really, really special, and I think it may not be for everybody, but the high school guys who understand, they look at Kendall and Drake, who were both all-state players and had lots of options to go lots of places, and say, this is a program where I love the style of play, I love the culture, I love the academics, the location, you go on. And then what you can have after graduation if you work really, really hard. I think holistically this place just has a lot to offer, and it's one of the reasons we'll continue. I know you see a lot of sound bites where college coaches say, yeah, we're just not recruiting high school guys anymore. And I'm not saying that's the wrong approach, right? If you have millions and millions of dollars and you just say, I'm going to go get another 22-year-old and then another 22-year-old and we're just going to stay old, that is a way to do it. I think we're going to build more with high school kids who are really drawn to the mission of this place.
You're saying you don't have millions of dollars?
I didn't say that, Doogie, but you know me well enough to know
How emotional is this week for you, knowing that, this time next week, the season's over?
Yeah, the end of every season, and certainly there's a finite date, right? And you always hope to play as long as you possibly can. And I think everybody's aware of it, so it's not unique to us. Every team knows, like, hey, at the end of this journey, Sioux Falls is, well, at least for us this year, Sioux Falls is it, one way or the other. So yeah, it's certainly emotional. I mean, these guys, you just think back to, I go back, 9 months to when this team sort of came together in June and summer workouts started, and you start looking at all the guys, and some of them are freshmen who are redshirted, some are injured. You go through, but each one of them's part of their own story, and that's the stuff Colin I think it was Colin posted something earlier on Competitive Joy, and it had some pictures of our fans and our players, and you just watch the guys on our bench. That's one of the most heartening things as a coach is the number of comments we get about the guys who aren't getting in the games at all, and you watch them, every basket we score, every defensive stop, how into it they are. And part of that is they're really unselfish. Part of it's they know and they appreciate they play a huge role in our success every single day in practice. And they're going to have their moments where, talk to Drake 2 years ago. Drake was not playing very much 2 years ago, and his story, and it's been widely told, his story is one of the most incredible in terms of a young man who was entirely capable coming out of high school and at Liberty. But there were some bumps in the road here, and to his credit, 2 years ago after the season, we had some heart-to-hearts, and I think he's been, you won't find many better all-around point guards at the mid-major level anywhere. What he's doing, his shooting number efficiency, his ATO, his defense, his leadership, and that's a big part of college sports that I think are getting lost today is the individual development of these guys, and our job is when they leave here, they're in a better spot, and they're going to be great community members and family members. And so that part is emotional, knowing, hey, we aren't going to get to coach some of these guys again. But it's also just the entire team. That team won't be together again, regardless if most of them are coming back. And so, when you're in this business, you don't get desensitized to that because each one of them is an individual who you've seen go through a lot of stuff the public doesn't see, right? You just think about, if we all go back to when we were 18 to 22, I don't know about you, Doogie, but did you ever make a bad decision in life?
Social media
Or, you didn't end up on social media, exams, just getting run down, all the stuff of college life, and then you add that, and it's an unbelievable opportunity to play Division I athletics, but they also have a lot on their plate, and I think the way they balance it all is really, really impressive.
John, you mentioned the alumni kind of milling around after the game the other day. Like, any other snapshots in your mind and kind of lasting memory of this team, like either on or off the court?
I think these guys, certainly you go right to the seniors, right? And like Benny and Ryan, who have been roommates for 4 years, and they were the first ones to commit. Ryan as a walk-on, Benny was our first scholarship commit. But those two have had so many moments where they're just spark plugs off the bench, right? And there's games where we struggle a little bit, and all of a sudden those two come in, Ben Oosterbaan comes in, and things just sort of change. And Benny and Ryan also are very expressive. So, like, I think back to moments of Benny getting the crowd into the game. Like, just his high school coach was there the other day, and I think everybody who knows Benny jokingly refers to him as the mayor, whether it's at Brookfield Central, whether it's at St. Thomas, because of his personality. But for me, ROKKR Arena this year has been as electric as it's ever been. Sold-out games, students waiting in line, just the anticipation of games, the excitement around campus. And so to me, it's that, seeing the students so engaged and knowing what we have coming across the street at Anderson Arena. I think we can't wait to get over there, and what an opportunity. But to me, it's more the hustle plays. It's Miles Barnstable the other day diving on the floor where he's 10 feet behind, and he wouldn't have probably done that earlier in the year, and he's our leading scorer. And if you were in our film session a couple hours from now, that's what usually gets highlighted, are those the hustle plays, the extra passes, the competitive joy. Those are the things that, and I was going to say the shooting is easy, and I say that as we just went 9 for 37 on threes. And again, so the shooting isn't easy, but the shooting is, I use gambling analogies a lot, not because I'm encouraging people to go gamble, but because roulette, it's going to be black, it's going to be red. You better just. So if we get really good shots, I think we have unbridled faith in our guys to take those shots. But the other night was probably the best example against a really talented and well-coached Kansas City team who was picked first preseason to go 9 of 37 on threes and find a way to win. I don't think we could have done that, a few years ago, in large part because I think the depth, the defense, the rebounding, all those other parts that we have that win basketball games. Anything else? Okay, thank you.